28 years after TWA Flight 800 exploded over the Atlantic Ocean, classified radar data just surfaced, and what it shows has triggered panic inside the Pentagon. For nearly 3 decades, the official story was ironclad: a spark in the fuel tank, a tragic accident, 230 people dead because of mechanical failure. But this month, a former Navy radar technician released files that were supposed to remain classified forever. High-resolution radar tracks from the USS Normandy, an Aegis cruiser conducting missile exercises 40 miles from the explosion. And those tracks show something the government has denied for 28 years: an object ascending from the ocean's surface at over 2,000 feet per second, directly toward TWA 800, seconds before it exploded. 258 eyewitnesses reported seeing a streak of light rising toward the aircraft. The FBI called them mistaken. The NTSB dismissed their testimony, but the radar doesn't lie. And now the Navy is scrambling to explain why this data was kept hidden while families buried their loved ones and America was told it was just a fuel tank. The leak came from a retired fire controlman first class who operated the AN/SPY-1 radar system aboard the USS Normandy on July 17, 1996. He kept copies of the raw radar data files on personal backup drives, violating Navy protocol, but preserving evidence he believed would eventually be destroyed. On December 6, 2024, he delivered those files to the New York Times along with a sworn affidavit. The data shows multiple radar tracks in the airspace between the USS Normandy and TWA 800 in the minutes before the explosion. One track, designated unknown contact in the system logs, originates from surface level and descends at a velocity consistent with surface-to-air missile flight profiles. The track terminates at the exact coordinates where TWA 800's transponder signal disappeared. Time correlation is precise to within 2 seconds. When independent radar analysts at MIT examined the leaked files, their conclusion was unambiguous. The USS Normandy's radar tracked a missile ascending toward TWA 800, and someone in the chain of command ordered that data classified. July 17, 1996, 8:31 p.m. Eastern Time. TWA 800, a Boeing 747, departs JFK International Airport, bound for Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. On board are 212 passengers and 18 crew members. The flight is full. Families heading to Europe for summer vacation, students on study abroad programs, business travelers. The weather is clear, visibility unlimited. The 747 is one of the most reliable aircraft ever built. Captain Ralph Kavortinen, a veteran pilot with over 18,000 flight hours, is at the controls. First Officer Steve Snyder and Flight Engineer Richard Campbell complete the crew. The departure is routine. ATC clears them to climb to 15,000 feet. The aircraft performs normally. 12 minutes after takeoff at 8:43 p.m., TWA 800 reaches 13,700 feet, leveling off while awaiting clearance to continue climbing. At 8:43 and 52 seconds, the aircraft explodes. The center wing fuel tank, located between the wings and the belly of the fuselage, detonates with such force that the nose section separates completely. The forward fuselage, containing the cockpit and first-class cabin, breaks away and plummets into the ocean. The rest of the aircraft, now burning, continues flying for another 30 seconds before disintegrating. Wreckage fields rain into the Atlantic Ocean 8 miles off the coast of East Moriches, Long Island. The debris field stretches over 4 miles. All 230 people on board are killed instantly. The explosion is so massive that witnesses on Long Island beaches see the fireball from 15 miles away. The story Americans were told seemed conclusive. After a 4-year investigation costing $40 million, the NTSB issued its final report in August 2000. The cause of the TWA 800 explosion was determined to be an ignition of fuel vapor in the center wing fuel tank. The ignition source was most likely a short circuit in the wiring that ran through the tank. The spark ignited vapors that had accumulated due to hot weather and a long ground delay before takeoff. The explosion was violent enough to tear the aircraft apart. It was a tragic accident. There was no evidence of a bomb, no evidence of a missile. The eyewitnesses who reported seeing a rising object were mistaken. They had seen the aircraft exploding and falling, their minds creating false memories of causation. Case closed.
But the investigation was anything but conclusive. From the beginning, tensions between the FBI and NTSB investigators were severe. The FBI took control of the crash site immediately, classifying it as a potential crime scene. Navy ships and divers were brought in to recover wreckage under FBI supervision. Radar data from FAA facilities, military installations, and civilian air traffic control was confiscated within hours. NTSB investigators complained they were being denied access to critical evidence. When the wreckage was finally reassembled in a hangar in Calverton, New York, investigators noted damage patterns that didn't match an internal fuel tank explosion. Puncture marks on the fuselage skin showed high-velocity projectile impacts. Metal pedaling indicated external explosions, not internal. And residue testing on recovered wreckage revealed traces of PETN, RDX, and nitroglycerin. All three are explosive compounds used in military ordnance, including surface-to-air missiles. But the radar data leaked this month tells a different story than the one the NTSB published. The files from USS Normandy show that at 8:43 p.m. on July 17, 1996, the Aegis radar system was tracking multiple airborne contacts in warning area W105. W105 is a military operating area used for naval exercises, including missile testing. On the evening of July 17th, the USS Normandy, USS Carr, and several submarines were conducting surface-to-air and anti-submarine warfare training. The exercises included live fire drills. At 8:42 p.m., 1 minute before TWA 800 exploded, the USS Normandy's SPY-1 radar logged a new contact, designation unknown. Origin, surface level, bearing 270 degrees, velocity increasing rapidly, altitude climbing. The track data shows the object ascending from sea level to 13,000 feet in under 8 seconds. That climb rate, over 2,000 feet per second, is consistent with Standard Missile-2 or similar surface-to-air interceptors. Commercial aircraft do not climb at 2,000 feet per second. Weather balloons do not climb at 2,000 feet per second. The only objects that move at that speed are missiles. The leaked data includes timestamps synchronized with FAA radar. At 8:43 and 47 seconds, the unknown ascending contact merges with the radar return from TWA 800. 5 seconds later, TWA 800's transponder signal ceases. The correlation is exact. Dr. Thomas Stahlkup, a physicist who co-founded the TWA Flight 800 International Investigators Coalition, analyzed the leaked radar files using modern tracking software. His findings are unambiguous. The SPY-1 system tracked an object launched from surface level that intercepted TWA 800 within seconds of the aircraft's destruction. The velocity profile, trajectory, and timing match a missile engagement. This is not speculation. This is physics. The presence of Navy vessels conducting missile exercises 40 miles from a civilian airliner disaster raises immediate questions. Why was TWA 800's flight path allowed to pass so close to an active military exercise area? Why was the airspace not restricted? And most critically, why was the radar data from those Navy ships kept classified for 28 years? The leaked files include internal Navy communications from the hours immediately after the explosion. At 9:17 p.m., less than 90 minutes after TWA 800 exploded, the commanding officer of USS Normandy sent an encrypted message to Atlantic Fleet headquarters. The message, declassified as part of the leak, reads, "Request immediate guidance regarding radar data handling. Multiple tracks in vicinity of civilian aircraft incident. Data contains sensitive operational information. Recommend classification pending investigation outcome." By midnight on July 17th, all radar data from USS Normandy, USS Carr, and associated P-3 Orion patrol aircraft had been transferred to FBI custody and classified under national security protocols. NTSB investigators were told the data was not relevant to the investigation. When senior NTSB metallurgist Hank Hughes resigned from the investigation in 1997, he was informed the data was classified and unavailable. Hughes later wrote in a 2013 affidavit, "I am convinced that the investigation into the crash of TWA Flight 800 was compromised. Evidence that did not fit the predetermined narrative was ignored or suppressed. The eyewitness testimony, the radar data, the forensic evidence on the wreckage all pointed towards an external event, but we were directed to focus exclusively on the fuel tank theory."
The explosive residue found on the wreckage became a flashpoint in the investigation.
PETN, RDX, and nitroglycerin were detected on fabric samples from passenger seats in rows 17 through 19. These compounds are not used in commercial aviation. They're military explosives. When pressed to explain the residue, FBI officials claimed it came from a bomb-sniffing dog training exercise that had been conducted on the aircraft weeks before the crash. But TWA maintenance records show no such exercise. The airline had no record of any explosives being brought aboard that aircraft for training purposes. The dog handler who allegedly conducted the exercise was never identified. The claim was never substantiated. Yet it became the official explanation for explosive residue on a plane the government insisted was brought down by a fuel tank spark. The 258 eyewitnesses presented another problem. Their accounts were remarkably consistent. A bright object rising from the ocean or low altitude, traveling upward at high speed, moving toward the aircraft. Some described it as orange or reddish. Others said it looked like a flare. Commercial and military pilots among the witnesses used precise language: high-velocity ascending contact, ballistic trajectory, consistent with missile launch. The FBI conducted extensive interviews. Some witnesses were questioned multiple times, with agents suggesting their observations might have been mistaken. A CIA animation was produced showing how witnesses could have been fooled by the aircraft exploding and falling. The animation depicted the aircraft's nose separating, with the fuselage continuing upward briefly in a climbing arc, creating the illusion of something rising. The CIA claimed this explained what witnesses saw, but the animation contradicted the NTSB's own flight data reconstruction, which showed the aircraft descended immediately after the explosion. The CIA animation was scientifically impossible, yet it became a central part of the official narrative used to dismiss eyewitness testimony. The TWA 800 radar files have triggered what intelligence analysts are calling a credibility crisis for federal aviation investigations. If the radar data showing a missile track was deliberately suppressed, it means the FBI, Navy, and NTSB knowingly published a false narrative. If explosive residue on the wreckage was dismissed using a fabricated dog training story, it means forensic evidence was manipulated. If 258 eyewitnesses were systematically discredited using impossible physics, it means the investigation was designed to reach a predetermined conclusion. The families of the 230 victims have filed a petition demanding the case be reopened. They want access to all classified radar data. They want independent analysis of the wreckage, which is still stored in an NTSB facility. They want answers to questions that were never honestly addressed. The leak's files do not definitively prove TWA 800 was shot down by a Navy missile, but they prove the government hid radar evidence showing an ascending object that intercepted the aircraft. They prove Navy ships were conducting live fire exercises in close proximity to civilian air traffic. They prove explosive residue was found and explained away using unsubstantiated claims. And they prove that when investigators questioned the official narrative, they were removed from the case or silenced. Whether the missile that destroyed TWA 800 was fired deliberately, accidentally, or as part of a training exercise gone catastrophically wrong remains unknown, but the radar doesn't lie. Something rose from the ocean surface at missile velocity and reached TWA 800 seconds before it exploded. The Navy tracked it, the FBI hid it, and for 28 years, America was told it never happened. The question that haunts investigators now is simple. If the government lied about the radar data, what else are they lying about? And if a Navy missile did destroy TWA 800, who gave the order to cover it up? And how many other incidents have been buried under national security classifications to protect institutional reputations? The wreckage holds answers. The classified files hold answers. But the people who control access to that evidence have spent nearly 3 decades ensuring those answers stay hidden. The leak has cracked the door open. Whether the truth finally comes out depends on whether anyone in power is willing to let it. If this investigation into government cover-ups opened your eyes, hit subscribe. We're exposing more cases where the official story hides the truth.